Regarding the whole debate whether Knocked Loose is hardcore or metalcore or whatever, I don't care about any of that. On You Won't Go Before You're Supposed to, their third album from Knocked Loose, they bring the sheer brutality and crushing weight that just outshines any of its contemporaries. So for anyone paying attention to the hardcore scene for the last 5 years or so, Knocked Loose has been one of the biggest up-and-coming bands out of the subculture, and they're getting even bigger now with their new album, You Won't Go Before You're Supposed to. Many music and metal news articles are bestowing this as the album of the year, and with time, this will probably go on to become a really important and highly influential LP. If anything else, it's one of the most sonically impressive and huge releases of the year. Everything on display here is just crushing and brutal in a way that hardcore and metalcore hasn't really been before, although I could be wrong. I'm not like super involved with the scene. There's probably even more brutal bands than this. The riffs, Kevin Kane's drumming, Kevin Otten's bass, and Brian Garris' vocals all work together to bring the aggression tenfold. The album is short and sweet, clocking in at less than a half an hour. But in those 28 minutes is sheer sonic intensity that pretty much never lets up. Exceptions would be parts of Take Me Home and closing track Sit and Mourn, but even with those, like the quiet sections don't last very long. From opener Thirst, which starts with 30 seconds of ambience before the sheer wall of noise comes blasting in, to the last melodic notes of closer Sit and Mourn, this whole LP is exactly what hardcore, metalcore, and metal in general needs in the current day. The record isn't all pure noise for 28 minutes. I mean, it is, though, for the most part, but much unlike the new albums from Kerry King and Deicide, Knocked Loose know how to bring sonic excess and at the same time venture beyond just that, with little dynamics and pieces thrown in to switch things up. As mentioned before, Take Me Home and Sit and Mourn have some mellower sections, not to mention the latter being like a fantastic closer with its reflective qualities. Moss covers all, tightly packs brutality in less than a minute, with a short, clean riff towards the end that leads into Take Me Home. Cuts like The Calm That Keeps You Awake, Blinding Faith have some interesting drum parts, and the latter in particular is the most emotionally charged and aggressive on the album, especially in its last 20 seconds. I mean, dude, Brian Garris is like out for blood or something because nobody screams like that. That is nuts. Don't Reach For Me is also just sheer balls to the wall, sonic pounding intensity, and is honestly one of the best songs of the year. It's one of the longer songs here, and starts off with this groovy riff before going full beat down a hardcore mode. It is perfect for the pit. I'm telling you, these guys, they really know how to bring the energy. Same goes with the collaborations on the album. Suffocate with Poppy. They just let everything out on that track, with Poppy screaming in a way that no one expected from her. I haven't heard enough of Poppy's material for the most part. A lot of her stuff is like alt or pop metal, as far as I know, although some of the material on her newest album did push for a more aggressive and metal approach, so it makes sense to have her collab here. Not to mention the Reggaeton Breakdown. Oh man. So the other collab here, Slaughterhouse 2, is pretty great as well, adding to the fact that Brian and Chris Motionless' vocals seem to complement each other really well, and is a sequel to Slaughterhouse, their collab from Motionless and White's Scoring the End of the World album in 2022. The production is definitely a statement here, and is how core albums should sound in 2024. It goes for this wall of sound approach, and it just feels like you're looking up at this massive hulking object that is like coming down really fast and like slow at the same time, if that makes any sense. In other words, the music towers over you and it is insanely crushing. One of the best albums of the year production-wise at the very least. And that's really saying something because this has some serious competition in that department. Okay, but one more thing, we do have to address the memes, mainly surrounding Brian Garris' vocals. People have said his voice sounds more like a pissed off SpongeBob. And yeah, they're not entirely wrong. I like his vocals. They're not the greatest ever, but are infinitely better and are a fresh break from like that same style that most core vocalists do, that is just like the same kind of repeated stuff. It's kind of hard to differentiate. TLDR, his voice is a pretty acquired taste. But man, overall, this album is as genuinely great as people say it is. The only thing I'll point out is that the album has barely any room to breathe, and it's not a bad thing, but if you're not into super heavy hardcore and you like albums that have like breaks or interludes, then this might not be for you. Also, it is insanely loud too, so maybe approach this at a medium volume if you don't want to blast out your ears or headphones. But man, this is just relentless hardcore, metalcore that the genre really needs right now, as metalcore has gotten pretty samey and stagnant over the past like decade or so. So I'm gonna give this a 97 out of 100 overall, just fantastic, and definitely deserves all the accolades it's been getting from metal news sources. I wouldn't say it's the best album of the year, I've already pretty much decided that, but it is up there. It is very, very much up there. It's incredible. We're winding down the year here. Hope to just expect to see a couple more reviews over the next couple days, and then on December 31st, which is in 2 days as of this video, I will have out my top 10 albums of the year. So yeah, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all later.